Before you listen to the Tech Talk Daily podcast, I have to ask, are the high levels of uncertainty you're experiencing keeping you from making bold moves? Are you able to clearly see and act on the game-changing opportunities the pandemic has created? I'm Daniel Burris, serial entrepreneur, global technology futurist, and disruptive innovation expert, and right now, you have a choice to make. You can react to problems and disruptions after they happen, or you can learn to accurately anticipate disruptions before they disrupt and identify and pre-solve problems before they happen, giving you the ability to turn disruptive change into your biggest advantage. If you want to take control of your future and make a significant impact now and in the years ahead, join thousands of leaders from around the world by becoming a member of my Anticipatory Leader System, where you'll get the latest insights, processes, tools, and virtual coaching that will give you the certainty and confidence you need to actively shape a better future for you and your organization. Go to techblogwriter.co.uk and click on Daniel Burris.
Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where we're replacing polarization and division with a brand new story with a leader in tech every day of how they're leveraging technology and innovation to transform their life, business, or even make the world a better place. How does that sound? Good. Now, I do have a fellow optimist on the podcast today by the name of Rick Lazio, who is a former congressman from New York and currently SVP at the Alliantgroup. Now, the Alliantgroup specialises in the research and development tax credit, which is a wage-based credit that allows businesses to essentially fund and pay for R&D to enable them to find a new way of doing things. Now, during the pandemic, it's been more important than ever for businesses to innovate with technology incredibly quickly so they can meet the new consumer and society needs and adapt to this evolving digital landscape. Now, Rick and the Alliantgroup team have already helped thousands of businesses across a variety of industry secure millions from that credit in the first few months of 2020 alone. So I invited Rick on the podcast today to share that story. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to New York City so we can speak with Rick. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Thank you, Neil. And I'm delighted to be on the show and to be able to share a few minutes with your audience. Again, my name is Rick Lazio. I'm a lawyer by background. I was a former prosecutor, white-collar crime prosecutor, served in the United States Congress for 4 terms, where I addressed various technology issues, amongst other issues, including data privacy. Left there and ran a organization called the Financial Services Forum. I was the CEO over there, and the Financial Services Forum was an organization of chief executive officers of the largest diversified and global financial institutions with operations in the U.S. So think HSBC, Deutsche Bank, Goldman, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, AIG, Amex. I was drafted from there to become the executive vice president at JP Morgan and served on the executive committee there, where I dealt with, among other issues, relationships with governments around the world, and managed some economists, and also managed part of the operation that dealt with environmental risk. And left there, went back to practicing law and affordable housing, which was one of my specialties in practice of law and some of the work I did when I was in Congress. And I've been at Alliantgroup for about 9 years, and I'm the senior vice president at Alliantgroup. Alliantgroup is the largest a tax consulting firm in the nation that helps businesses access capital to fund their operations through a variety of tax credits, mostly federal, but not exclusively. And many of these credits are based on retaining technical jobs in the U.S. and now in the case of Alliantgroup in the U.K. as well, because we have operations in the U.K. And our mission is to make sure that all businesses, not just America's largest businesses, have access to these tax incentives that are helping them to grow and innovate and to open up new markets.
And I believe that the Alliantgroup specializes in the research and development of tax credit, which is a wage-based credit that allows businesses to essentially fund and pay for R&D to find a new way of doing things. And right here in the current climate, that is so critical wherever anybody is listening in the world. But can you introduce the listeners to the kind of problems that you're solving for your customers right now?
Sure. And you've got it exactly right, Neil. The research and development tax credit has been in place since the 1980s, and it has been changed or modified or liberalized almost 20 times, about 16 or 17 times, each time making it more accessible, especially for small and medium-sized businesses, and especially for technology businesses, I would add. And this is used by companies for a variety of purposes. This is a dollar-for-dollar reduction in your taxes owed. A tax credit is different than a tax deduction. It's a more powerful incentive in the sense that a deduction reduces the income that the tax is based on, but the credit is a dollar-for-dollar reduction in the actual tax. So many of the firms that we're helping, and it's especially pressing during the COVID era where many companies have liquidity issues and some even solvency issues, many of these companies are able to take the money that they're saving and redeploy it to attract or retain talent, which in the technology space, in my experience, has been one of the top priorities to make sure that smaller and mid-sized firms have the ability to retain the talent that they have and attract the talent that they need. So there's lots of examples I have. If you'd like me to give you a few examples, if that would be useful, of the kinds of companies that we've helped.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to help bring it all to life. That'd be great.
Sure. Well, in one case, this is a network engineering firm. This is a company that we help that provides private network engineering solutions for fixed-wing aircraft. And these are unmanned aircraft vehicles as well, flight test support problems. So the company developed a real-time software module that enables their helicopters to land safely in areas with high debris content around them, and software capable of enabling military or naval pilots to land aboard naval ships with ease. So this is, a solution, a network engineered solution to have aircraft land in difficult targeted spaces. And so we were able to work with this company to be able to access the research and development tax credit, and they again go on to use this money that's freed up to help in a variety of ways with their operations. And I should mention, just top line, we've helped companies since the beginning of this COVID crisis access over $1 billion in research and development tax credits, and we've helped companies access over $8 billion since the founding of this company about 18 years ago. So this is a significant amount of money for companies. This is not a situation where most companies, on average, it's hard to say average, but the average company, it's a 6-figure opportunity, and it's not unusual for some companies depending on how many technical employees they have, to potentially leverage a 7-figure benefit through the research and development tax credit. There was another app developer that worked with enterprises and developed new software and technologies to support cloud technology. Another company that we've worked with that developed a program that provides direct, secure connection to mortgage lenders and banks and appraisal management companies. And each of these companies we were able to work with them, identify and scope the size of the credit, and help these companies properly document it. And we're very conservative about how we approach this business. We've got 3 former IRS commissioners, one that served under a Republican administration, one under a Democratic administration, and the third one operated as both the chief of staff and the commissioner of small business. So these are very experienced people who've worked inside government and who are very focused on appropriate levels of compliance. We're strong believers of that. And we work with the individual CPA firms for these companies. So we're not displacing CPA firms at all. We're not in the same business as they are. We're providing a specialty expertise. And the way I often explain this is with a metaphor or a parallel with the medical world, and saying, if you think about it in medical parlance, we're the cardiologist and the accountant, or the CPA is the internist or the family doctor. So they're in the client facing and advising the clients on general matters of tax compliance, and we come in these very specialized technical areas and work closely with these companies to make sure that they are claiming the right credit and they have the right documentation. And again, this has been a huge benefit for companies, particularly in this COVID era.
And I'm glad you mentioned the COVID era, because like I said a few moments ago, during the pandemic, it's been more critical than ever before for businesses to innovate with technology quickly, especially in order to meet new evolving consumer and society needs. So how important is it, do you think, increasing innovation to strengthen business right across the country and beyond is right now?
It's incredibly important, and in a number of ways. So there's some companies, manufacturers, for example, advanced technology manufacturers, obviously people in the IT solution space, that are investing in their employees' safety. And in some ways, these are expenses that were not anticipated a year ago. But the innovation to adapt their manufacturing process, for example, or adapt their operations, is potentially a qualifying activity for the credit. But mostly, Neil, I've talked to hundreds of businesses over the last several months, hundreds of business owners and chief executives and chief financial officers. And these business owners are looking to leave no stone unturned. They're in a race to shore up their liquidity and their balance sheets. And they're looking at every possible way in which they can do that. The research and development tax credit for many of these companies was not something they were aware of, or they may have had a misperception about. So explaining and empowering these business owners and chief executives with the information to make a good judgment about whether or not to pursue the credit has been incredibly rewarding and incredibly important, I would add. And for many of these companies, getting access to the research and development tax credit has allowed them to retain employees for a longer period of time, has allowed them to meet expenses and stay in business. And in some cases, opportunistically, some of the businesses have been able to grow their business because they're able to redeploy the money that they have saved through the research and development and tax credit to hire key employees, or to open up new markets, or to innovate in some way.
Love that. And I appreciate you probably can't share too many names, but can you also share you've helped thousands of businesses across a variety of industries secure millions from this credit that we're talking about here in the first few months of 2020 alone? Because I think it's so important for people to get access to this. And it's great to hear how you've actually done it and helped them survive what is an incredibly difficult year, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And if you're an app developer or you're a systems integrator or you're writing code, a lot of companies, and this I think about sort of alarm companies, security companies. These are companies that operate these security systems. They may think, well, gee, what am I doing here? I'm buying the hardware from somebody else. I'm not manufacturing the hardware. So how am I involved in research and development? But the law envisions that wherever you are adapting, innovating, evolving, you have an employee that's based in that country, whether it's the UK in the case of the UK credit or the US in the case of the US credit. This is a qualified activity. So a systems integrator in the security space, for example, is always adapting their software so that the systems talk to each other throughout the building. And the practice of designing that and engineering that is exactly the kind of activity that the credit envisions.
I think I love how you're helping strengthen businesses when they need it more than ever. And I think for obvious reasons, that is a great story. But I'm curious, what have been your biggest challenges this year as a company too? And how have you had to overcome and innovate and evolve as a result?
Oh, Neil, that's a great question. Alliantgroup, like most service-oriented companies, had to adapt to an environment where its workers were required to work from home. We're a very collaborative company. We like to work closely together. We have industry-specific teams that have developed expertise in different sectors, and those people like to collaborate closely, work face-to-face. And so we had to learn that we could replicate that through remote operations. And we had to struggle to connect with clients and with prospective clients using remote communications, which is not always our way. We often used CPA partners, and we've got over 5,000 CPA firms as partners throughout America, for example, and as well in the UK. That we collaborate with to help their clients. So all of that changed. One of our ongoing, I want to say frustrations, it's just a challenge, Neil, is that statistically, possibly 8 out of 10 smaller and mid-sized businesses don't take advantage of the credit, even though they're qualified for the credit. Virtually every Fortune 500 company, if you think about Apple or not that Zoom is Fortune 500, but a Zoom or a Microsoft or an Intel, all of them have in-house tax departments. They're very sophisticated. They take full advantage of all of the tax preferences and credits that the government offers. If you go down a little further in the industrial food chain, especially when it gets to smaller firms of under 100 employees, many times the entrepreneur that started that company up or is running that company now is working so hard to try and fulfill the mandates that it has to grow their business, to retain their employees, to recruit new ones, to think about new products. They have no in-house tax advisors. And so 8 out of 10 of them are missing this. And it's to the tune, again, of often for many of them of 6 figures or more every year. And it's a significant loss, and it's a frustration for those of us that have got this passion to level the playing field for business and to make sure that smaller businesses have the same assets and tools as the largest businesses. And we want to save these businesses, particularly during the COVID era. So one of our greatest challenges is this race against time. Can we educate enough businesses about their eligibility for these credits? Can we get them these credits in time to save them?
Love that. And I am conscious, though, for many small businesses, they might be unaware of what they can claim and how you can actually help them. So for those people listening, suddenly we've had their attention, can you offer any advice on how they can fund and pay for R&D and find that new way of doing things that they actually need a little bit of help with?
Yes. And it's another great question, Neil. So, of course, one way to think about this would be to educate yourself. So the first issue is, if you think you know what the research and development tax credit is, and you think that you might not qualify, do yourself a favor and talk to an expert and just validate that. Yeah. Learn a little bit about the basics of this. And again, this is a completely authorized credit. Every major company in America and the UK takes advantage of these credits. You should too. If you're in a situation where you have the potential for utilization and you have employees that are based either in the UK or the US, and they are involved in some level of innovation, don't try and overthink it. Try and talk to a company like ours. We will give you the information without any charge. You can visit our website, www.alliantgroup.com, and get some very basic but useful information. We've got a chat box where we can answer some questions. We're happy to get somebody on the phone to help you understand whether you might qualify for this at no charge whatsoever. So it's kind of a no-brainer. If you can get a hold of a company that is able to give you some free advice and guidance and empower you to make a good decision, then why would you not take a few minutes, and I mean like 15 minutes or 20 minutes, to find out whether or not your company could be eligible for hundreds of thousands of dollars of a benefit that is on the books, has been for almost 40 years, is not capped, has mature regulations and guidance, and so there's no guesswork around it, and which has the support of big businesses, medium-sized businesses, small businesses, Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals, broadly supported throughout the spectrum. So I'd say, you go online. You can search for research and development tax credit. You can look at the Alliantgroup website, get some basic information. Then reach out and ask one of us if we'll spend 10 to 15 minutes educating you on whether or not there's an opportunity in your firm. Where you go afterwards, that's your business.
Love it. And it's so refreshing to hear as well, especially in a year of so much doom and gloom and so many horror stories out there. And I can't help but think, if collectively businesses leverage technology and increased innovation, do you think that we have a fighting chance of kickstarting that economy again?
We absolutely do, Neil. We have more than a fighting chance of kickstarting the economy. The promise and the pathway forward is through technology. It's through automated process solutions. It's through leveraging robotics and being able to enhance productivity, communication, data management through continual breakthroughs and progress. And I have absolute confidence that the future ahead, in terms of our economy and in terms of quality of life, will improve over time if we properly fund research and development and innovation, if we properly reward and incentivize the entrepreneurs and the workers who are in this space, who are making helping us to make better, quicker, more sustainable decisions about our business future.
And as we're approaching we're heading into the holiday season now, aren't we? And a lot of people are going to be starting to look and make predictions for the year ahead. Of course, none of those futurists or analysts predicted what would happen in 2020 with technology or life in general. But I've got to ask, I mean, what makes you hopeful that companies can bounce back in 2021?
I have just a inner positivity and confidence about the human desire for survival and rebirth and excellence. I think it's in our DNA not to be defeatist. Yeah. I think we have our headwinds, and there are periods of consolidation, and then we rally. And then there are these periods in which there is periods of rapid innovation, and these, marked by historical periods of growth and of change. And I believe that we are in one. I mean, I think it's hard to see when you're in the moment, but if you look back historically, I think you'll look back at this period of time and say, "Oh my gosh, the amount of change is staggering." I think about my 96-year-old mother. My mother was born in 1924, and if you think about what she has seen during her lifetime, from almost horse and buggy and the infancy of the automobile to drones, yeah, and commercial space flight, from operators, clearing calls to 5G connectivity, from pre-television to virtual reality. I mean, it's staggering, and I believe that the next decades will be one of even more rapid change, and whether we can leverage our human nature, our essence, to see technology as enhancing rather than detracting from the best of who we are. Well, that's a different challenge, but the tools to do that, I believe, will be at hand.
That's a perfect moment to end on. But before I do let you go, could I ask that you remind everyone listening of where they can find out more information about what you're doing there and the best way of contacting your team if anyone listening's got any questions after listening to our conversation today?
Yes, we would love to speak to anybody who has any questions about anything I've said today, or anybody who'd like to learn more about the research and development tax credit and whether or not their company might qualify for this type of benefit. They can contact us by searching for our website, which is at www.alliantgroup.com. And we can connect you with either a live person, or you can communicate by way of chat or email. And of course, you can always call us in our offices. And we have offices again in both the UK and in the US. And we would love to help counsel you and empower you to make great decisions. And again, the name of the firm that I work with is Alliantgroup, and it's spelled Alliantgroup, all one word. Neil, thank you so much for this great opportunity and for asking such excellent questions. And thank you for inviting me to join you on your great show.
Well, thank you for joining me today, because like I said at the very beginning, it has been more important than ever for businesses to innovate with technology incredibly quickly in order to meet those new consumer and society needs. So I've really enjoyed hearing about how you're helping them with this R&D credit, but equally hearing how you've had to adapt as well as both a person, as a company, indeed as everybody listening is going through that same journey too. So a big thank you for taking that time to share them stories with me today.
Much welcome. Thank you again.
I could chat with Rick for hours, and if I'm ever allowed to fly to the US again and enjoy an overdue trip to New York, I'll be sharing a cold beer or a hot coffee, depending on Rick's preference. So if you do listen to this back, Rick, a big thank you for coming on here and discussing some of these examples of your innovative work, and also how R&D credit has allowed businesses to expand and increase innovation to strengthen business across the country and beyond. And for everybody listening, if you do contact Rick and you secure some credit that makes a big difference to your business through R&D, I just ask that you promise me, whether you're listening to this when it's released in October 2020 or you find this valuable 5 years from now and it makes a difference, just make me a promise that you'll return and share your story too. Because I'd love to get you on the podcast. That's how this show works. None of that passive listening malarkey. I want to get to know you and hear and share your stories. So my door is always open. techblogwriter@outlook.com is my email address. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk. So if you need help with your business blogs or want to launch your own podcast by just recording a conversation and let me worry about editing and all that other stuff, contact me for that as well. But I've taken up far too much time of yours today, and I will return again tomorrow with another interview. So I don't want to be that guy that overstays his welcome at a party. So I'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. But until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.